Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dry Pink Dialogue. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur, and today we are recapping Inter Miami's 2-2 draw against the New York Red Bulls last night. Second game at Miami Freedom Park, second draw at Miami Freedom Park, second point at Miami Freedom Park, and by the way, it was 2-2. I'm your host, Scotty. Saur, how you feeling, man? How you feeling about that game?
Is it what we are now? This is Groundhog Day. Every game at the Miami Freedom Park is going to end 2-2. I feel like that's what we're in for, right? Into Miami going down in the first half, then coming back up, and then conceding again in 2-2. Every single game. 2 points in 2 games against 2 teams that we should have beaten. I thought it was a much more fun game than the one against Austin. Maybe we should have won the game with the chances that we had, and I think I came out overall net positive from this game than I have in the last few. So maybe a lot more to talk about than we thought, and a lot more positive things to talk about than I thought. So maybe we can get straight into it. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. I agree with you. I thought this was a really interesting game, and there was a lot of positives. And I think, on the whole, like Inter Miami was the better team and probably deserved better than a 2-2 draw, if I'm being perfectly honest. Not that New York Red Bulls didn't make good plays and didn't deserve, to be a real factor in this game, but I thought Inter Miami on the whole was the better team. And so, it is sort of hard to come away too upset with the performance, even though there was a couple plays and a couple individual mistakes that ended up changing the scoreline and preventing Inter Miami from getting all 3 points. Overall, I thought the performance was pretty good. We'll talk about it, but let's start with this injury update. Tadeo Allende missed yesterday's game with a hamstring injury. He missed all week in practice as well, and Mikel Giannoni, who is a sideline reporter for MLS, spoke with him on the sideline before the game, and Tadeo Allende mentioned to him that it was just a precaution on the hamstring, so we should expect him back next week against Colorado in Denver. Not a long-term injury for Tadeo Allende. So for those that were surprised to see him out of the lineup, for those that weren't surprised to not see him available, it's not a long-term thing, and he should be available next week. And that's it for injury updates.
Yeah, I think overall a positive that today Allende is not out for the long run, but I think after rewatching yesterday's game, my thoughts are slightly different. And again, I wouldn't wish any player to be out on injury, but it might do him a bit of good to be a bench player for a couple of games and come off the bench and try and contribute from there rather than be a starting piece. You raised a very good question about today Allende yesterday, whether we play the 4-4-2 to accommodate him. I don't necessarily think that's the case, but maybe there's some credence into it. I think Inter Miami needs to go with that 4-3-3 that they showed in the first half for the next few games at least, and settle into that and make that their main play style. And hopefully today Allende can fit into it. But I think it's good that he's not out for the long term, and we'll have him available soon enough.
Can we just talk about Tadeo Allende for a minute? Because the last couple games I've been thinking, man, in the second half they get a lead, and then they sit back and kind of play conservative, and they just want to kill the game with their 1-goal lead. And it's like, that's actually a really great situation to put a fresh Tadeo Allende into the game in the last 25 minutes when you have a 1-goal lead. So you can play a little bit more reserved, but still have that option over the top that can still be killer. Like, that actually feels like a role Tadeo Allende could do really effectively for this team as we're trying to figure out where everyone fits in, and can still have him be a primary piece of what we're doing without, sort of forcing him into a formation that maybe doesn't work for everyone else. So, I would agree with that. I would like to see him in that specific role, and it's a planned substitution, but something that I think could really work for this team. Anything else before I get to this game?
No, I think we've got a few things that we can talk about, so we can go straight into the game.
Okay, let's get into the rundown. 7th minute, man, we finally had the breakthrough. Lionel Messi breaks through his defender down that right side, gets into plenty of space, and like only Lionel Messi could, he spots Herman Berterame inside of the 6-yard box with space. He finds him. It's there. It's going to happen. Berterame is going to get his first goal from Messi. Messi's going to get his first assist, and he whiffs. Inter Miami does not get that first goal, but was a little sign of something to come. Inter Miami, I thought, very much in control the first 15 minutes of this game until that 15th minute, where very much against the run of play. And New York Red Bulls put a ball forward to Julian Hall. A little bit of a awkward play by Mikael, and Julian Hall and Mikael get into a foot race, and Maxi Falcone, for some reason, feels like he needs to bust his butt over to make a hero play or something. I'm not really sure what was going through his head, but he leaves the backside runner wide open. And so even though Mikael clearly recovers on Julian Hall, Hall's able to take a step back, find the open receiver, and inside the box, Jorge Ruvalcaba has a wide open shot on net. It's 1v1 versus Dane St. Clair, and he slots him in the corner. And all of a sudden, even though Inter Miami I thought had been playing very well for the first 15 minutes, is now losing 1-0 to the New York Red Bulls.
And this has been the theme of the season so far, where Inter Miami cause their own downfall, especially in defense. I think this has happened more than often this season. Mikael not covering himself in glory by any means. I think he allows the ball to run through, thinking that he'll be able to recover it fairly easily, without realizing that Julian Hall is very quick and is a bit of a menace. He makes a meal out of that, has to get into a foot race with Julian Hall, almost ends up losing it, but then kind of recovers himself, which makes me think, okay, he recovered, he made it out of it, no harm done. He pushes Julian Hall to the sides, does not allow him to make that run centrally. And then I noticed right next to Mikael is Maxi Falcone, who's just running in behind, shadowing him. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing here? And all Julian Hall has to do is just cross the ball across. And then the New York Red Bull player is straight on goal. I don't remember who got the goal there, but I can blame Mikael for the initial movement, but I can't blame him for the recovery. Maxi Falcone 100% takes that. Oh my goodness. That was a brain dead play. I think you and I would have absolutely lost our marbles if we were the coach of Inter Miami. At that point in time, I would have taken him off there and then. Not great. Not great for Maxi Falcone at all.
Just to Mikael's credit, like it wasn't even like he misplayed the ball. It was just a little awkward. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a misplay or a mistake or anything. It was just the ball went to a different player and he kind of got caught off foot, but he recovered and it was fine. Like I'm not giving any blame to Mikael on that play. And when you see it from a different angle later on, there's an angle where you can see Sergio Reguilon watching Maxi Falcone, who Reguilon is higher up the field and it can't get back into the play. He's watching Maxi Falcone cut across and he's looking at him like, what are you doing? Then as soon as the goal goes in, he goes, Maxi, why are you doing this? Like I think everyone on the field could clearly see, and even Maxi Falcone would know, like as soon as it happens, he can't believe he just did that. But ultimately, like it's kind of a boneheaded move that costs Inter Miami a goal in this moment. And some momentum too, because they were in complete control at that point in the game.
Yep.
Inter Miami, I still thought the better team throughout the first half. Created plenty of chances, a little sloppy in the final third. I thought there were some individual performances where they were a little sloppy on it. A couple opportunities that went astray. Rodrigo de Paul, there was a moment, I think in the 23rd minute, where Ian Frey sets up Rodrigo de Paul for a really nice opportunity, but it's a nice save by Ethan Horvath. Couple moments like that. But ultimately, Inter Miami does equalize in the second minute of first half stoppage time. Rodrigo de Paul with a fantastic cross to the back post, where Mateo Silvetti is there for a very well taken equalizer to give Inter Miami a 1-1 halftime draw, I guess. But certainly they were worthy of a goal in that first half, and they get it right before the whistle.
Yeah, and Inter Miami deserved that. And I really liked the way the first goal came as well, because it was almost from right to left. And I mentioned this in our Raw reaction yesterday. This is the most balanced our attack looked this entire season, where we were utilizing both flanks. A lot of the times we were trying to create play from the left-hand side with Silvetti, who had lots of space in this game. I wish he had done more with it over the course of the first 45 minutes. I thought Sergio Reguilon was also combining well on that side of the pitch, stretching it out, doing the overlaps, doing the underlaps, a lot of good stuff happening. And then on the right-hand side, which you and I have identified as an area that's concerning for Inter Miami over the last few games, I thought both Ian Frey and Rodrigo de Paul combined really well. And Ian Frey especially knew exactly when he needed to run in behind, knew exactly when he should be putting the ball in behind to Messi or Rodrigo de Paul. I thought had a really, really good performance. And then Rodrigo de Paul picking up the ball on the right hand side, fantastic cross, by the way, fantastic. And then Silvetti, beautiful finish. He has to adjust his body, and he does it in a way that the ball lands directly on his foot, and all he has to do is just tap it in first time. Really good technique, very difficult to take, but I think Inter Miami good for that one goal. I will say, New York Red Bulls were better than I expected them to be and made things a little bit awkward for Inter Miami at times in this game. Inter Miami coming in with this game plan that they want to play out from the back. And I don't think we were particularly put under too much distress, but it was awkward at some points, which eventually led to those individual errors that you're talking about. Overall, a fun half to watch, actually. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, I want to kind of stop there and evaluate because Inter Miami in that first half, 9 shots, 3 big chances, 1.5 XG, forced 3 saves out of Ethan Horvath, the New York Red Bulls goalkeeper. They were 55% possession. I mean, it looked like you want it to look, even though you have one individual mistake that gives up a goal going the other way. You have a couple missed chances and a couple nice saves by the goalkeeper. But really, I felt like it was like 3-0, 2-0 was there for the taking. If this game had ended up that way at halftime, I think that would have been very fair and reflective of how this game was played, if I'm being totally honest. And sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and that's okay. But I did want to stop there because Inter Miami comes out with a 4-3-3 in this game, and they play it in the first half. And in the second half, they switch up and they do something totally different. I want to come back to this. We can run through the rest of the game quickly, but I want to make a note of this as we're going through chronologically. At halftime, Inter Miami makes a change. They take out Sergio Reguilon and put in Daniel Pinter, and they switch from a 4-3-3, traditional 4-3-3, to like a 3-3-4
3-4-3.
weird type of Mascherano, put a number in the attack, take a guy out of defense. But like I thought Inter Miami for the first half looked really good and was the better team, and that's with a couple of players, I think, being a little sloppy on the ball. You know, Rodrigo de Paul, I think, had some plays he would want back. I think Mateo Silvetti had some touches he would like back. So, like, even with that in mind, I still thought they played really well and were the better team. Okay, getting to the second half. 49th minute. This was maybe the most shocking moment of the day. Rodrigo de Paul sets up Lionel Messi with a really nice opportunity. Messi kind of sidesteps his defender and then gets an opportunity. And he pulls it just wide, hits off the near side post. You don't see him miss the target very often, but he does in that moment. But ultimately, Inter Miami still gets the lead in the 55th minute. Messi drives in. And he kind of gets dispossessed by the New York Red Bull defender, but the ball lands at the feet of Herman Berterame right at the penalty spot, and he, like a natural striker does, just slots it into the corner from the penalty spot and gives Inter Miami a 2-1 lead in the 55th minute.
Actually, Daniel Pinter won the ball there in that instant to win, to create that opportunity, which eventually led to the goal. So good on him. I initially thought he didn't do particularly well in the second half, but he had a few moments here and there. Wins the ball in a dangerous position, and then that opportunity comes Berterame's way. Well taken goal. Really well taken goal. Again, first time shot off a ball that rolls into his feet. I thought he had to be prepared to take the shot because it came out of nowhere, not necessarily planned by Messi to pass to him, but well taken goal, and what a relief. I think at that point, the entire stadium just collectively let out a sigh, including the coaching staff, including the full squad who just came on the pitch to celebrate with Berterame. I don't know if this was the best way for him to get his first goal. If this was the first of the second game that Berterame was playing for Inter Miami,
are we going to talk about him again?
Fantastic. Yes, we are.
Okay, so then let's just leave it at that, and we can come back to it. 62nd minute, though, I think from this point on, it was a little bit more dicey and a little bit more even. 62nd minute, the Red Bulls put the ball in the back of the net. Inter Miami gets bailed out because it's called offsides, but ultimately it doesn't matter because in the 77th minute, it's off a set piece. Emil Forsberg just puts an entry ball into a wide open Julian Hall, just kind of sitting there in the box. Rodrigo de Paul goes there to kind of contest. Julian Paul takes one step to his right and then crosses him over to his left, and Rodrigo de Paul gets rinsed. It's a wide open cross from the baseline from Julian Hall, and it's an inch perfect pass to Adri Mehmeti, who's sort of crashing the box and just taps it in for a goal. And all of a sudden, the 77th minute, Inter Miami's 2-1 lead, and all the good vibes and all the good feelings kind of vanish like that with an Adri Mehmeti goal. The two teenagers combine, and all of a sudden it's 2-2. What did you think of that moment?
It's become so familiar. We're 2-1 up in so many games, and we often become used to this team scoring more goals at 2-1 up. But this season, it almost feels like the exact opposite, where we think, okay, this team is going to go for the jugular. They're going to get the final nail in the coffin, take this game to 3-1, 4-1. And so many times last season, we saw this team just score 4 goals at the end, because as soon as they took one goal lead, they started creating more opportunities and finish it off. This season has been the exact opposite. I was expecting something like this to happen, even though New York, I think, in the second half was not particularly great. But with the change in formation, there was a lot of space on the wide-hand side, on the wide flanks, sorry. And even though they created a couple of opportunities that didn't come off, one of them got called offside. They get this opportunity off a set piece, and I thought Rodrigo de Paul had to do a lot better there. He just stood there flat-footed, and then Julian Holt turns him around. Once he's in that position, you can't really do much except hope and pray that nobody in the New York shirt gets at the end of that ball. Unfortunately, they do. 2-2. That's been the pattern of the season so far.
Yeah. Inter Miami then, as they do and have tried to do this year, kind of tries to turn it back on. They put Luis Suarez on. They go back to a 3-man back line after they had already switched back to a back 4 back line. It was a whole thing. Put Luis Suarez on at desperation trying to get a goal, and they have some really clear-cut opportunities. The best in the 90th minute, Yannick Bright with an entry ball to Lionel Messi sort of at the edge of the box, and he just dumps it off to Suarez, who shoots. It's a nice save by Ethan Horvath. It rebounds to RDP. He shoots. It's another nice save by Ethan Horvath. And then ultimately it lands at the feet of Berterame, who does sort of just muscle its way into the back of the net. But it's called offsides. Messi was about half a step offsides when he received the initial inbound pass from Yannick Bright. So that's called off. And then ultimately the big shot in the 94th minute, Inter Miami gets a foul called right outside the box. It's perfect Messi range for a free kick opportunity. He does take the opportunity. It's a pretty nice shot, but it's a pretty nice save by Ethan Horvath. And ultimately that is what ends it for Inter Miami. It's a 2-2 draw in a game that I thought they played pretty well, but certainly better in the first half than the second half. And I also think, and we'll talk about this more, New York deserves some real credit for how this game turned out.
No, I agree. And I'm a little tired of seeing this team be as reactive as they've been, always getting a goal behind and then trying to catch up. Hopefully this season we get to a point where Miami can actually dominate games, especially at home, start winning from the front and not trying to catch up all the time. It doesn't make any sense to play your best football when you're 2-2. Do it over the course of the 60, 75 minutes and then relax. Unfortunately, that's not what we've seen so far as fans. I think we should have won this game. We should have put away a few opportunities. This is a game where if Lionel Messi gets on the score sheet, Inter Miami is winning it 4-2, 5-2 even. I thought he was really good the entire game, and the only thing that was missing was a goal from Messi. But other than that, individual errors, individual performances kind of let us down in moments. And New York Red Bulls, the young team that they are, were able to capitalize. And then if you give them one sniff, they get into the game and grow into momentum. And you don't want that, especially when they have a couple of dangerous players up top. I think we can only blame ourselves. Nobody here to blame as such, but saw some positive things. And on another day, this could have been a different story and 3 points win to Miami.
Yeah. Ethan Horvath, I thought, had a good game in goal for the New York Red Bulls. Makes 4 saves from inside the box, 5 total saves, but just some like clutch saves against good players that are trying to put the ball in the back of the net. Big one from close range against Rodrigo de Paul. Obviously has the Messi one at the end. I think there's a Luis Suarez one sort of in the 90th minute as well that he comes up clutch for. So it's
2.
Yeah. Well, one in like the 90th minute, one 5 minutes, 7 minutes
Earlier
than that. Yeah. So I want to give him credit. That front line, I thought Inter Miami did a pretty good job of of keeping under wraps. Cade Cowell didn't do much in this game after a really big game last week. Jorge Rubalcaba gets the goal, but doesn't do much else aside from that. I want to specifically talk about the New York Red Bulls midfield in a few minutes, but is there anything else about the team that you wanted to mention before we move forward?
No, I think just the structure was much better this game, and I hope Javier Mascherano keeps to it and doesn't see the result as an opportunity to go back to his 4-4-2. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. To me, this game was so fascinating in the midfield, especially in the first half, but into the second half as well. Because, and you mentioned this last night, and I wanted to give you a lot of credit for it. Ronald Donkor for the New York Red Bulls had a phenomenal game. I heard you mention this yesterday, and I kind of wasn't really paying attention to him in the game yesterday, but I was paying attention to him today when I was rewatching, and man, he was everywhere. Especially as you get into the later stages of that first half, he was, I think, the best player on the field, and we'll give a lot of credit to Yannick Bright, but Donkor I thought was the best midfielder on the field last night. And I thought Edrin Mehmeti was also really good, really poised under pressure, and like just smart and wise with his decisions, wasn't rushed, and was just putting the right ball forward when he needed to. Inter Miami, I thought, watched those two midfielders be the best two midfielders on the field. I thought Yannick Bright was sort of close to that, was sort of in the same range as them. And then there was a real drop-off when we started talking about Rodrigo de Paul and Telasco Segovia and even Emil Forsberg, so not to put blame on those two. Forsberg's a good player as well, and he was not quite on the same tier, but like I thought Inter Miami got outplayed in the midfield on a personnel basis. But I also thought it didn't sink them because they manned up in the midfield and had enough numbers so that even if they were getting out-talented or outplayed on an individual basis, they weren't falling apart structurally. And we've seen this so many times this year, not so many, but a couple times this year where if Inter Miami gets outplayed in the midfield, it falls apart for them and they really start conceding chances and they get put under real pressure. And even though I thought they were, on an individual basis, getting outplayed in the midfield, they were not collapsing. They were not collapsing at all. And I thought that was because of this three-man midfield we saw. And I loved it. I loved it so much. And it made me really smile because Inter Miami has had moments where they just can't get the ball forward because they start losing this midfield battle. And Rodrigo de Paul's not having a good game. And if Yannick Bright's not having a monster game, all of a sudden, you're just getting crushed in the midfield. And that didn't happen last night. And I thought that was so refreshing to see. And it was something I would really want to build my hat on. I think we're looking for better consistency defensively and offensively. But I think the best way to do that is to be really good consistently in the midfield so you can support them while they figure it out, both going forward and defensively. To me, that was the biggest takeaway of this game was those three in the midfield, Segovia, De Paul, and Yannick Bright, even if they aren't having a great game, which I didn't think Segovia had a great game, I didn't think De Paul had a fantastic game, they are still a formidable midfield. And even though they played a really good midfield last night, they held their own, and I thought it helped Inter Miami be the better team throughout.
Can I also add, I think if we stick to that 4-3-3, Inter Miami comes away with the win and feels a lot better about this game. I think the second half changes did structurally hamper us, and that's when the New York Red Bulls midfield looked better than us. I will give them a 60-40 in terms of 60% them being better than us. The perfect epitome of why this 4-3-3 is the most important going forward and why the 4-4-2 doesn't work is the first goal that we created. If you go back a few passes, Segovia shifts all the way to the left-hand side to win the ball first. Drives it into Yannick Bright, who then passes it out to Rodrigo de Paul, who then takes a step and then passes it into Silvetti across. If there's only two men midfield in a 4-4-2 there, you have Yannick Bright coming out to the left to try and defend if your fullback is caught off or if your left winger is not being defensively sound. Yannick Bright gets pulled out there. That pulls out Rodrigo de Paul into the middle as well. And then you've got this gaping hole on the right-hand side, which your right back has to fill. But having that three-man midfield allows you to space out a lot better width-wise. horizontally, you're a lot better. Defensively, you can be a lot more structurally sound. And then it allows you to create more as well. You can move the ball much quicker between the three, like we saw in that goal that we created. And I love that. I love that.
Yes, but I actually think the creativity going forward is an added bonus, and I'll get to that in a second. But I think actually it's when New York had the opportunity to take over the game in the midfield, us having numbers in there really helped. And I thought Segovia did an underrated, like, was underappreciated for the work he was doing to help hold the midfield together. And he can't do that if he's sort of forced out on the left side. I thought he did a really good job there in a couple key moments. But what the other thing that does is if you have DePaul and Segovia playing a little bit more central in the channels, it opens those wide lanes for Ian Frey and Sergio Reguilon to be a part of the build-up in a more efficient and effective way. And then you start getting a more diverse range of ball progression that helps you create better offense. And I thought we saw that as well. And so that's why, getting to your point, I think that is opened up by what you do in the midfield. And then all of a sudden you do have, like, you're just using the whole field in ball progression in a way that you haven't been doing a ton this season, or really in this whole 4-4-2 era.
Yeah, and this is a midfield that we shouldn't have conceded to. And it almost felt like at some points they were outmanning us with talent. That doesn't happen often with this Inter Miami team. And thank God Javier Mascherano played the three-man midfield this game. Otherwise, I can only imagine a two-man midfield looking even worse than usual. Credit to New York Red Bulls, though. I think Donker with the 50-50 challenges came out on top of every single one of them. And then Mehmeti, I think everyone was keeping an eye out for him. What a talent, man. He's going to be a superstar in this league if he stays for long.
Yeah, it really, this game really reminded me of, or it felt like it would have gone similar to how we looked at against LAFC in that first leg, where in the first game of the season, where Rodrigo DePaul just wasn't on it that night. And we just got overwhelmed in the midfield in that first half, and we had to make halftime adjustments because we were just getting crushed. And it's like the overwhelming didn't happen in this game because we had three guys in the midfield, and I really thought it made a big difference. So I really want to see that moving forward. My other big takeaway from this game was I thought Inter Miami was the better team throughout. And I get a lot of people are frustrated that overall the team isn't winning games on a regular basis like we would hope. Obviously, like they've in their last 6 games, they've got 5 draws and 1 win. And so it does sort of feel like, okay, where's the dominance? Where's the winning? Where's the great feelings? But I thought if they could repeat this performance, and especially what they did in the first half on a regular basis, they're going to win a lot of games and be a really good team. So that was kind of my takeaway from this game.
This happened last season as well. You remember we went on an 8-game streak where we only got draws and losses and barely any wins, and we were pulling our hair out to understand what's going on. And then Inter Miami eventually figured it out by the Club World Cup. This year we don't have the Club World Cup, so hopefully we figure it out before that. But I think we got the blueprint yesterday in the first half. We just need to use that more.
Well, just to be clear, last year in our first 9 games, Inter Miami won 8 of them last year, and this year in our first 9 games we've won 3. So it's not exactly the same. Like it has not been as good as last year. It hasn't.
No, not even close.
Anything else about this game? I mean, it was okay. Should we talk about the formation, back and forth, flip flopping? It was like a slinky going down the stairs where it would flip to one side and it would be a back 3, and then it would flip to the other side and it'd be a back 4, and then flip to the other side and be a back 3 again.
I don't even remember when we switched to a back 4, honestly.
So what happens is we start the game in a 4-3-3. At halftime, he pulls Sergio Reguilon, he puts on Daniel Pinter, and it goes to a back 3-man midfield, sticks with the 3-man midfield, which I appreciated. And then he goes to this front 4 with Daniel Pinter on the right. And Inter Miami has a couple moments where it looks nervy, including the one that got chalked off sides. And so in the 68th minute, he takes Mateo Silvetti off and he puts Gonzalo Luan in as right back.
But that was, I think, for like 5 minutes.
It's for 11 minutes. And then as soon as New York Red Bulls scores again, he takes off Ian Frey, goes back to a back 3, and puts on Luis Suarez as another attacking option.
In retrospect, I don't think those substitutions were particularly helpful for this team. That's my understanding. I think it messes
His
up too much in terms of how we're building up and how we're trying to create and the patterns of play, because the patterns of play were there. It wasn't like we weren't creating opportunities. If Inter Miami looked clueless, if they did look like they were flat and needed a source of inspiration, then yes, I can understand switching up to a back three or whatever. But I think it was too convoluted. It had to be a 1-to-1 change if he needed to do that. But again, maybe hindsight 2020.
You know what it was, and this is the thing that's going to make me nervous for the next week. He likes to make an aggressive substitution at halftime if he feels like he needs goals. And it was 1-1 at halftime, and he pulls the defender and he puts on the attacker, and this is his like go-to let's get some goals moment. If we were losing 2-0, I think that's what you should be doing because that's his go-to move for Inter
Yeah.
Miami when they're down 2-0. But it was a 1-1 game, and I thought you were the better team in the first half. And so I would have liked to have ridden it out, even if you do have to take Sergio Reguilon out because we're assuming that was a planned substitution, that he was only going to play 45 minutes. And so if you're going to take him out, I'd much rather have seen Noah Allen or Fukuno Mura or whoever going at left back and keep the same structure because I thought it was working really well for Inter Miami. And in a tie game where you're playing better and they only really have one clear-cut opportunity on goal and you're creating plenty of chances, doesn't feel like the type of game you need to shake things up at halftime. So I didn't love the decision to do that. So
You know what it is? It makes me concerned even more that I think about it philosophically. You don't trust your plan. You start with a 4-3-3. The structure is good. If it's a planned substitution, I completely understand. But you're changing the structure entirely by putting a back three. So, B, you're not understanding how the opposition is responding to you. You're not seeing the game state. You're not seeing how the opposition is playing against your structure and your plan. So, keep some faith in the plan that you've gone with, and then there's no need to be that reactionary. And that brings me back to my point of Inter Miami constantly trying to react. I think it comes down to Javier Mascherano's decision making as well, where it always seems reactive. He's trying to like fix things in a hurry, even if it's a 1-1 draw. Like let it play out a little bit. And B, I think just see how the opposition is responding before you make such a vast structural difference, because there's a big difference in a back four and a back three and how you build in the two and the vulnerabilities you create both on the flanks and in the middle. So I don't know, just see the game through, just understand what the processes are happening in the game, and if they're premeditated then that's even worse. But I do think there needs to be a little bit of a just hold on, be patient, let it play out. Like 1-1 is not a bad scoreline. Your team has the talent and the ability, and it does look on top to score a couple more goals. Like if you just put someone like Noah Allen and allowed it to play out, or for Nomura, I think we would have been able to score a couple.
I'm with you, especially because this game in particular, like I thought Inter Miami was clearly the better team. I'm not sure anyone would have watched that first half and thought this is a team where we need to switch things up. And, I think he just saw there was an opportunity because he wanted to take Reguilon off, which I agree with. So I'm fine with him taking Reguilon off, but I don't think he needed to switch things up. So philosophical decision, I guess, but ultimately I agree with you. I think it did cost Inter Miami two points in this game. Anything else on this game you want to talk about? Any other decisions before we get to awards?
No, I think we'll talk about individual performances, which I think is an interesting point in itself. So we can get to awards. I have a few interesting ones.
Ooh. Okay, let's get to it, guys. Every game,
I think.
After every game, we rewatch and then we come up with 6 awards: Heron of the match, Heron that flew north, and 2 individual awards each. Because you went first last time, Saur, I'm going to go first this time. And I will say I had a really tough time with this. I was stuck between 2 players. And I ultimately ended up watching the second half and going with Yannick Bright as my Heron of the match because I thought he was awesome in the midfield. All of the goal scorers or assisters I thought actually had kind of, on the whole, disappointing games aside from the moment where they get the opportunity. And so for Yannick Bright, who I thought was really good throughout and had some really big moments, I thought from minute 1 to minute 90, he was the best player on the pitch. Very close, and we'll talk about who the other player was in a few minutes. But yeah, Yannick Bright, I thought was Inter Miami's best player in this game.
I think he had 2, maybe 3 misplaced passes, and that maybe docks him down from an A plus to an A plus. I think they didn't necessarily change anything, in my opinion, of how he performed. He was spectacular yesterday. Everywhere in the middle, cleaning things up, playing that number 6 role so well. There were so many instances where New York breaks and they just run into the wall that is Yannick Bright. But also progressively, the one moment that Inter Miami creates an opportunity, which I believe gets called offsides, is because Yannick Bright had a fantastic through ball into Messi. He is building on his skills as a progressive passer, not entirely polished for sure. A lot to improve on, but I'm seeing some really good things from him. And then you add the fact that he's probably the best ball winner in this league right now. This is a player that he's grown leaps and bounds. And the fact that he wasn't starting in last year's MLS Cup, thank God we won without him. But I think this is a player that's the first name on the team sheet after Lionel Messi. Has to be. And in my opinion, completely take away Lionel Messi, of course. He's a god of football, but Yannick Bright has probably been the best player on this team, along with Messi, this season.
Yeah, he had 9 takeaways last night. And he played as a true number 6, which is the other thing that I wanted to talk about with Yannick Bright is he's played in this double pivot, and it's a ton of responsibility because they are really asked to do everything in the midfield, him and Rodrigo de Paul, when they play there. And he is, I think, done a really impressive job compared to what we were expecting, compared to, when you think about what Rodrigo de Paul has done and the price tag that comes along with him and what the price tag was for Yannick Bright and so on and so forth, and having to replace Sergio Busquets in that role. It is a ton of responsibility. And I think he's done a pretty admirable job so far this season. But there's no doubt the true blue Yannick Bright ultra skill set, the thing he does at an elite level, is win balls as that true number 6. And he got to be the true number 6 in this game. I said this to you last night. It's the single greatest attribute of any player on this team outside of Lionel Messi is his ball winning ability, his ball winning instincts, more than even just ability, his instincts to go win the ball. It's next level. I don't know how much longer he's going to be at Inter Miami because someone's going to come scoop him up soon. But it's a joy to watch when it happens, and I thought he was hair in the match for this game.
Yeah, and I think this was quite clear in my mind. Who was your other option?
We'll come back to him.
Okay, interesting. Should we move on?
Sure. Heron that flew north. This is the award given to the player who was doing the wrong thing in this game. Florida Herons don't fly north for the winter. They don't fly anywhere for the winter. So if you catch one flying north, you caught them doing the wrong thing. And in that vein, Saur, who is the Heron that flew north for this game?
Maxi, why do you do this to me? Falcon, the Falcon just flies, which makes me think you've kind of messed up the awards given your reaction. But oh well.
No, I had a really good award for him, and I can't give it to him now, but it's fine.
I mean, I would blame you on this. Yeah, Maxi Falcon Heron that flew north award, absolutely daft decision making on that play. I don't know what he was doing there. Do you even dare say more? I thought overall as well, second half, maybe he got better, but that was only because relatively in the first half, he was quite poor. And that's saying something. When Gonzalo Lujan looks like the better centre-back, there's definitely something wrong with our centre-back options. Mikael needs help, man. And Maxi Falcon's not helping anybody with the way that he's performing right now. Maybe there's a deeper conversation to be had in a midweek episode about Maxi Falcon and how his form has actually affected Inter Miami quite poorly. But we've talked about the fact that you need to build a centre-back partnership, develop that relationship, chemistry between your 2 first-choice centre-backs. Maxi Falcon is clearly the first-choice centre-back alongside Mikael. He's not playing like that. In fact, he's playing like a 4th-choice centre-back right now. Needs to do better. Simple.
It was my favorite award. I'm so sad. I don't know if I should just mention it now.
Yeah, if you don't want to use it next time or something.
I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use it again. I was gonna give him the Barbet and Him award. And if you don't know, a Barbet is a dog. It's a breed of dog that has it's got a coat that's similar to Maxi Falcone's hair. He thinks that play was instrumental or was like a identifier as he thinks he's supposed to be the alpha that cleans everything up and is just taking care of the center back role. And he's not supposed to be that. He's the complementary piece, or he's supposed to be the complementary piece. And he tried to be the big dog because he's got that Barbet in him. but he's the complementary piece, and you have to be the complementary cleanup guy if that's your role, and he needs to realize that. I think there's a real conversation about him seeing a couple games off the bench or giving a couple other guys
100%.
opportunities because like it hasn't been good. It wasn't good in the first half in this game, even regardless of that one mistake. It hasn't been good in 2026. Like I don't think he's had a good game so far this year. So like I think that means it's time to give Gonzalo Lujan an opportunity, a run for 3 games. Maybe it's an opportunity to give Ian Frey an opportunity at center back and give Kunamura the opportunity at right back. Maybe it's, maybe you try Noah Allen as the complementary piece. He was good as the complementary piece last year and maybe can handle that role, especially if you have Mikael who's better with his feet and a better distributor. Maybe that even fits even better. So I just think it's time to try another player. And Maxi Falcone feels like he was just given his job back after not playing that well, getting hurt, Gonzalo Lujan playing well, and then Falcone just got it back and still hasn't played well. So, yeah, I think it's time to try someone else. And if it is Maxi Falcone, he's got to realize, like, I'm the complement to Mikael. I have to be the guy who cleans things up for my teammate who's doing the sort of hard part.
All right, what's your first award?
The chef is cooking. The chef is cooking.
I mean, there's only one chef on this team who cooks, and I mean head chef, and that's Lionel Messi. And I say that because I feel like you want to give him an award because he was probably the next best player on the pitch, but he wasn't able to finish off. Or Berterame, I'm not sure. I'm going to go with Lionel Messi, but maybe you're thinking of Berterame. Messi.
I said something last week that, this guy, he might be 5'7", but he is really good with his head, airily. Ball's coming into him, man, he knows how to head it.
Messi is not 5'7". There's no way Messi is 5'7". He's shorter. Has to be.
Well, that's neither here nor there. But
no, I say that because no, he's not 5'7". Anyways, go on. Sorry.
It's neither here nor there. What I am going to say is we saw him in the box, on the edge of the box a couple times this game, not taking all the corners. And I think there was a reason we saw that. And I think I'm going to end up liking the final product. I think the chef is cooking something nice up there, and give Lionel Messi the opportunity to see the game from a new perspective. I think he's going to take advantage of it, and we're going to get a couple goals from Lionel Messi being in the box on corners. Call me crazy. I also thought he had a really good game. The reason I didn't give him the hair of the match is because he had the one opportunity in the 49th minute where he kind of pulls it to the near post and hits the post and goes out. That was the only differentiator. I thought he was really good in this game. That's the only reason he didn't get hair in the match. But the reason I gave him this award is because I think we're cooking up something on these corners, man. I really do.
It's an okay award. I think you can do slightly better. I did like the
I told you I had a better one for Maxi Falcone.
I think I like the Falcone award better. No, I agree with you. I think he was probably my second best player on the pitch other than Yannick Bright. I thought he was fantastic. There was just some shimmies that he was doing, some feints and turns that completely took away everything. There was one run that he made. He got the ball up until the box and then he lost it because the New York defender just put a foot in and dispossessed him. But he was sharp yesterday. He looked very good. He was putting in the balls. That ball into Berterame should have been completely buried. You or I could have easily scored that as well. I think he did everything that he possibly could to make this team win yesterday, bar scoring or assisting a goal. And I would argue that he might have assisted in the Berterame goal, but
Oh, he had like three moments that could have been assists, I think.
and also it was quite unusual of him to miss the opportunity that he did on Rodrigo de Paul's pass right next to the keeper. But the way he just sits down the defender is beautiful to watch. Again, on another day, I think if he's able to convert those chances into a goal or an assist, we win this game 5-2. I know that's a little bit spoiled because when your best player does score an assist, your team's going to win. But Messi was very, very good yesterday. To your point about the corners, I think it's high time that we tried that. That being said, I think in the first half, that opportunity that came from the Berterame 7-minute opportunity was from a corner that Messi took, which was short to Rodrigo de Paul, got it back from him, and then created that opportunity. So I agree. I think maybe it's time that the set pieces or the responsibility for the set pieces are given to somebody else, and we use Messi on the edge of the box. Put a nice ball into him. He scores a volley or two. Does that Jordi Alba sort of a roll on the corners? We no longer
No,
have that.
I want him in the box. I want him
You
in the
want
box.
him heading.
I was actually
Okay.
disappointed. Even if he doesn't head it in, he's the smartest player on the field. He might be the smartest
Yeah.
player in the world. Like, if you give him a couple games in there and start figuring out what he's doing, I guarantee you he's going to start finding space. I guarantee it. He is going to be unreasonably good at scoring goals in the box. I guarantee it. And so I kind of like it, and I think we're cooking something up. I think the chef is cooking something up there.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your first award?
My first award is Artemis the Second Award.
Artemis 2 spaceship. Someone's stock is going to the moon. It's Berterame because he gets his first goal. Congratulations, Herman Berterame.
We have lift
To
off,
the moon
baby.
and back. To the moon and back.
To the moon and back. So he's here. He's survived. He's done the recon around the moon. He's looked at how things are done, and he's finally landed back. Hopefully, Artemis the Third and Artemis the Fourth takes him further beyond and lands him on the moon. Is this the start of something special?
No, I think it's time to have the conversation. Go ahead.
I will be very honest. It didn't look like the goal that we would have wanted it to look like, that you would have wanted it to look like. I just wanted him to score. I didn't care if it was him like lifting the ball up and putting it in the net. As long as he scored, I was fine with it. And now that I think about it, I wish it was like more of a, connection of sorts, because obviously we're football fans. We always want more. But no, I think in this game, there were instances where I saw Berterame actually get in positions where he could be a menace. He could be dangerous. That opportunity he missed in the 7th minute, if he isn't there, that opportunity doesn't exist. So right, he has to be in the space. There are a couple of other runs that he made in behind where it was just like a matter of getting separation from his defender, and maybe he's through on goal. Had a couple of other moments where the ball was passed into him and he had an opportunity, a few headers as well. Not his perfect performance, but definitely saw glimpses of what could be the future with this team. We have liftoff, man, and that's all we need from this from this game. Next game, score 2. Could have had a hat trick tonight or yesterday night. Could have had a hat trick.
Was it a step in the right direction? Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. And I'm going to take that step in the right direction. I'm going to start him again next week, and we're going to go from there. Problems are not all solved. Like, I still thought there was long portions of this game where he kind of disappeared, but I also think there have not been moments in the past where he scored goals. And in this game, he almost scored 2. And would have scored 2 if a player earlier on in the play wasn't offside. So that is a step in the right direction. I like it. I'm going to give it to him. Really, really happy for him, and you could tell. I think everyone was really happy for him when he finally puts that away. This team's not going to be great without him being good. So, step in the right direction. I think this is really good. Yeah, he needed this.
For Inter Miami to get to the moon, we need that probing mission.
We need another 3 steps before he gets to good, but it was this was a step in the right direction. So,
What if he scores a hat trick in the next game?
did Messi assist it, or is it just random? I'm kidding.
Random.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
Random,
kidding. I'm
random,
kidding.
random. Scores a hat trick, but it's random.
Well,
Three
hopefully we win.
penalties.
It'd be nice if we won.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, anything else on Berterame?
Next award. Bring it.
Okay, my last award is the non-medal Olympian award.
The non-medal Olympian award. This award goes to somebody who has performed brilliantly, made it to the Olympics, did not get a goal, did not get an assist, did not win a medal, but still, it's a big achievement. I don't know why I think it's Ian Frey or Dane St. Clair. I'm going to go with Dane St. Clair for some reason. Because he was like a, I don't know, foot runner or something. You're on mute.
Sorry. I'm giving it to Rodrigo de Paul, who was not as bad as I thought. I thought he looked worse because everyone else in the midfield was playing really well. I thought Yannick Bright played really well. I thought Ronald Dancourt played really well. I thought Adrien Mehmeti played really well. I thought Emil Forsberg was solid. And Rodrigo de Paul was kind of like, okay. But I thought he was really bad when I watched the game for the first time, and I thought he was much better on the rewatch. Is it good enough when you're the most expensive midfielder in the history of the league to be the fifth best midfielder in the game? No. Is it good enough to start for Argentina? Probably not. I don't know. I'm not familiar with their pool. But do we need more from Rodrigo de Paul? Absolutely. We need him to be the second best player in this team. But it wasn't that bad. And I was giving him some flack for it yesterday. So, and also this is kind of my last award. So it kind of happens that way.
Yeah. It was an interesting rewatch because I looked at the stats as well while I was watching the game again, and he had 5 key passes. Of course, one of them was straight into Silvetti's feet, which was a beautiful cross. So he actually gets us that one goal. You can't fault him for that. I think other than that, he had a couple of really nice penetration balls into the final third that could lead to something or the other. Didn't eventually come off. That ball to Messi that on any other day, Messi buries in the back of the net. He gets 2 assists, 3 assists last night, and we are talking about, okay, this was a fantastic performance. But he also had some moments where you're thinking, oh, this is what's costing us the game. This is what's costing us the midfield. So it's 50-50 and it averages out. Some really good moments and some really poor moments. I think primarily I blame him on that second goal that we conceded on the set piece. Gets turned by Julian Hall. He shouldn't be doing that. And also at some points it feels like he is a little lethargic. Not lethargic, but complacent in the pitch. He had that free kick that he just gave away to Julian Hall, and they almost created something out of it. But I think Yannick Bright and Mikael stepped in to protect that.
Mikael.
Yeah, there's the complacency that sometimes seeps into his game can be really difficult to watch. So I get your point. I also agree that when I watched the game again, I thought he was much better than my first look. But those couple of instances just sour your taste for the entire game. That's why I think on the first watch, we're like, Rodrigo de Paul is like not good. Needs to do better with what he is, right? With what he's been brought in to do.
It's
and
weird
he has shown that he can do it.
It's weird because he was close to like a monster game. He has, in the 26th minute or 23rd minute rather, Frey sets him up for like a point blank shot, and it's just a nice save by Horvath. But he could have gotten a goal there, and he has like 3 moments where he could have gotten assists that either Messi missed one, Berterame had a header right at goal, and then obviously he did get 1 assist on the Silvetti shot. So like he could have finished this game with 3 or 4 goal contributions without having changed the game in a drastic way. But also, I definitely think he was most responsible for the Red Bulls' second goal. You mentioned that 26-minute moment where he kind of just brain farts and kicks it straight to Julian Hall. Mikael bails him out. You mentioned he kind of looks lethargic out there, and that was not how I would describe his game 3 weeks ago. I thought most of the season he was like the intensity was absolutely there and the energy was absolutely there, and it feels a little bit lower over the last 2 games. And that's why I asked you last night, like, is there something about the bone bruise, the hamstring bruise that he got? in his last game against Nashville in the CONCACAF Champions Cup that is just affecting him, because I don't think he's been quite the same in terms of an intensity level since then. And maybe he went to Argentina and he had a bad camp and now he's sad and I don't know. Maybe his girlfriend broke up with him. I don't know. But like I think there's at least a chance that bruise is hampering him a little bit, because he just looks, the intensity looks 10% lower than what we were seeing for the first month of the year.
Yeah, it looks off. And again, I don't know whether it's complacency, whether it's lethargy, whatever it is, he needs to figure it out, because he's in contention for that Argentina squad and he wants to play. I think he'll still make it, but a couple of poor performances here and there, and we start questioning him again. It doesn't take long for Inter Miami fans to start questioning their players, because we're so used to high level performances from especially our DPs. And he's been brought in to do a very important role for this team, and he has to play like that. As simple as that.
So there you go. He had moments that you saw. That's why this guy made it here, but he didn't get a medal. Definitely didn't get a medal for this game. Okay, what's your final award?
Good award. My final award is a movie reference. The Freaky Friday Award.
Ooh, Freaky Friday. Someone swapped bodies. Who swapped bodies? Who swapped bodies in this game that hasn't gotten an award yet? I don't know. I'm struggling with this one. Dane St. Clair. He swapped bodies with Oscar Starry. We thought we were getting the shot stopper extraordinaire, and instead we got the ball playing goalkeeper extraordinaire who doesn't actually save any goals. 0 saves on the game. Who gets the Freaky Friday award?
It's not Dane St. Clair. It's Mateo Silvetti, who played like Tadeo Allende. This was a quintessential Tadeo Allende performance from start to finish, where for large parts I thought Silvetti was poor. And then he changes the game with the goal that he scores. And that's it. That's what Tadeo Allende is born and bred for. That's what he's done for this team for the longest time. I think yesterday, Mateo Silvetti had the most amount of ball in the first half that we've seen him have since the playoffs. Had a lot of space to operate in. Had a left back right next to him who was making the overlapping runs, who he could combine with. And I think he came up short. He scored that goal, beautifully taken, really well constructed, really well executed. But yesterday, he had everything to be that superstar that we expect him to be. He had the space. He had the ability to take on his man. He had the ability to run around, do some good tricks, and just put the ball into the box. And yet, I think he was fairly average for large parts of the game. But gets the breakthrough goal, gets us level, and then allows us to actually go on to a 2-1. Can you fault him for that? I don't know. Maybe not. But I won't want to see more from Silvetti moving forward. I think yesterday with the setting was there. The situation was there for him to execute and to utilize. And I don't think he did it particularly well.
Yeah, he's just a kid. Like this is
he's just a kid.
This is a he's just a kid moment for me, where like the talent gets him on the field and it gets him so many opportunities, and it's like, well, when he's 24, he'll make more of those opportunities, but when he's 19, he'll only get you one goal. And that's kind of the thing about really talented 19-year-olds.
Only get you one goal, right?
They only get you one goal. So like it's hard for me to blame him. And I thought he did a good job also.
Yeah.
I thought him just being there did a good job of opening up the offense and helping us create down the left side and kind of have a more diverse approach to what we did offensively. So wasteful, sloppy, had a couple just bad touches that he would have wanted back, either slowed down the rhythm or it was just a turnover. But like it was just a young kid moment and he gets his goal. So I'm not worried about it, but I absolutely agree that I saw what you saw.
Let me caveat this. This is by no means like a negative award. I'm not calling him out for having a poor performance or whatever. I just think he's capable of so much more, and my expectations from him are so much high that even the fact that he scored a goal, we want more from him because we know he's such a phenomenal player that he can do a lot better. So yeah, and I agree. I think a young player gets the goal and you can't really fault him for anything else other than that. But you could see that yesterday that the situation was ripe for him. Like he could have got a couple of good goal involvements if he wanted to, but at the end of the day, one goal, important, impactful goal, and a good impactful performance with all things considered. But I think sky's the limit for him. So I want to see more.
BD says, did you guys think that it was a PK on that opportunity in the first fourth minute or something like that? I don't think you're going to get that call in the fourth minute very often.
No.
Wouldn't have been shocking if you get a call, but you wouldn't get that called more often than not, in my opinion. Anyone else you want to talk about? Talasco,
I had an
Segovia.
award. Yeah. I thought he was fine. Not particularly. I thought first half he looked better. Second half sort of faded away. I had an award for Dane St. Clair. I called him the Human Centipede Award because he played with his feet. But again, I think that was fairly obvious as a conversation. And then I had an award for Ian Frey as well, but I wanted to laud him for the fact that he connected really well with Rodrigo de Paul and Lionel Messi on the right hand side, especially coming off of a performance where he got taken off at the 45th minute mark and was reprimanded by Rodrigo de Paul on the pitch and then Javier Mascherano for not putting in the performance level and then coming back this game and doing so well. I think even the commentators were salivating at how well he was playing at certain points in the game. So those were the other two players that I wanted to talk about. But I think those conversations were fairly straightforward and obvious. And I'm happy I got to give my awards that I did.
Yeah, I was happy to see Ian Frey back in the starting lineup and not getting benched. By the way, there was a moment where Facundo Mora was about to come in, so he was healthy in this game. Maybe not to start, but at least to play.
Yeah.
And he would have come into this game if the Red Bulls didn't score that extra goal, but obviously they did, and so it became a Suarez substitution instead. So I was happy. I think Ian Frey has shown at this point he's a better right back than Facundo Mora, so not that Facundo Mora shouldn't be playing sometimes, but I think in our important games, I think I'd rather see Ian Frey out there. And as we're trying to figure out the identity of this team, I think I want to see Ian Frey out there because I think he provides down the right side something that we're just not getting from
100%.
Facundo Mora. I will say I thought there was room to maybe go a little bit deeper on the bench in this game. I thought in the last 5 or 7 minutes we could have seen both Noel and David Ajala to help see out the game. Just getting a little tired in the midfield, getting a little tired on the back line, and you just don't want to be the guy that gives up a goal because you're tired. Ultimately, the Red Bulls didn't create anything dangerous in the last 8 or 9 minutes of the game, but they did bring on Choupo-Moting and Berggren in the 87th minute to try and create one last opportunity. So I would have been okay with maybe putting a little bit of fresher legs to help see out the game defensively, even as you're trying to, even as you're throwing numbers forward, maybe replacing the guys in the back. You did still have one substitution window and 2 substitutes. So those 2 guys, I think, could have seen the field in this game and maybe would have helped. But yeah, that's sort of all I got for this game, man.
Yeah, I think some positives to take away. And Inter Miami is not performing particularly well, and we're not perfect at this point in time. But I hope we figure it out eventually. Cut out the individual errors, and we win this game. Cut out the lapses, and we can potentially go on a run of good games now. And honestly, man, I haven't looked at the table since yesterday, but I think we might need it. We might need a run of good wins, at least 2, 3, 4 wins on the trot.
Well, let's talk about it because Amart says at the beginning, the record is similar to last season at this point. Just for the record, Inter Miami 7 games in, they have 12 points now. Last year they had 15, but they were also had more CONCACAF Champions Cup games intersplit because they had to start a round earlier, and obviously they had advanced deeper into the tournament. So the MLS wasn't quite the priority. They still had 15 points through 7 games. And then the form really did start to fall off from there, and it got ugly. And that was better than this year. So that's, I think, concerning. And Ash says what realistically should be done to get our squad back into elite form. I will just let you know, as of this moment, and I'm not sure if that can change because of the game that's going to start here in a few minutes between Columbus and Orlando City. But Inter Miami's 10th in the Supporters Shield table with the team that's probably the most talented roster in the MLS. They're sitting 10th through 7 games. How do you feel about that?
Not good. especially after being knocked out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I would have expected us to at least be somewhere in the top 4 of the Supporter Shield. I'm not expecting us to be top, but it looks like our record away from home might be better right now at home, which is saying something. I know we've only played 2 games and we haven't lost a game at home, but not good. I think Inter Miami needs to be doing better. And it can change over the course of 3 games, it can change, but start putting some wins together. I think it's high time.
Yeah, it's a weird situation because this game I like the performance, and so I'm not mad about getting a draw in this game, but I understand that the overall picture is actually getting a little less comforting. In the Eastern Conference, I know it's not quite as droll,
Competitive.
but when you put it on the whole Supporter Shield table, they're in their mid-table team, right? I guess they're the last team in the top third. So I don't know.
But that's the reality. That's where we are in terms of our performances as well. We're not performing like a team that's the top 4 teams in the league right now. And sometimes football catches up with you and the ball doesn't lie. I think we'll average out eventually, but right now it's the reality of this team. We're bang average.
Maybe that's the thing that's concerning, is that it does feel like this is not just that they're in 10th in the table, but they feel like
Haven't done
10th.
anything. Yeah, exactly.
They feel like the 10th ranked team in the table. So anyways, it can change. I thought we saw positive signs in this game, and hopefully we see not a reversion next week. It would really frustrate me if we get a reversion next week, but I think if you're a fan and you're frustrated with where the team's at, I think that's understandable. I think if you watch this game and thought, I see some things that I like, I think that's understandable too, and that's sort of where I'm at right now.
I agree.
Saur, any final thoughts before we wrap this bad boy up?
I just want to win. I just want to win at the Miami Freedom Park and bring it next time. We had a couple of things in our checklist from last game, before the game, which was get Berterame a goal and win at Miami Freedom Park. One happened. The other hopefully happens next week.
Well, they're not going to be at home next week. They're going to be road trip now. So just for the record, next week they play Colorado in Colorado, road trip, and then they go to Salt Lake City to play Real Salt Lake,
Real.
and
Yeah.
then they come back the following week against the New England Revolution. So next week is going to be a 3-game in 1 week type of week. So we'll get those again. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and let us know in the comments if you have any vehement disagreements you want us to know about. Until next time, hope you guys have a lovely night, and we'll see you then.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.